In my preliminary task, I applied the full continuity techniques we had been studying. The R-line match is a simple technique showing a character looking at something of interest with the following shot displaying what they are looking at. I first used it in my preliminary task during the conversation. Then I employed it during my opening sequence when the protagonist wakes. Match on action is when movement occurs in one shot and continues in the subsequent shot in a flowing sequence. As the character gets up to leave at the end of the conversation, the continuity is established through into the succeeding shot. In my production, we see it in the running and mugging scenes. Without the use of match and action in a film, the content can appear static, thus my inclusion of it to make my footage more dynamic. The 180-degree rule and the shot reverse shot are commonly used in film, typically during conversation. The 180-degree rule states that the camera must stay on one side of the action. If this rule is not adhered, the audience can become disorientated. I didn't have any conversations in my opening sequence, however I did take the rule into account when filming my mugging. I purposefully broke the rule as it begins with the CCTV camera on the right of the protagonist and the successive shot is from the same side, but then we watch the right hook from the mugger from the left hand side. When the audience watches action, they like to be aware of what is happening from all perspectives. In addition, the variety of shots makes the action more dynamic, contrasting my preliminary task, which lacks a variety of shot types, making it feel static and boring. Hence why I included a variety of shots from high to low angle, as well as high to low camera positioning in my opening sequence. The shot reverse shot is employed when we see the protagonist held in a headlock from one of his adversaries, then we cut to the other view. I felt that I learnt the techniques during the preliminary task, but only at a basic level. During the creation of my opening sequence, I learned how to develop them, making them more interesting for the audience to watch by altering the height and angle of them. Furthermore, the shots employed in my preliminary task are simplistic and focus rigidly on the action. Since then, I've learnt new techniques. This lockdown shot during the running is an example of my understanding of the genre and audience. You don't need to tell them everything. They are smart and will figure it out, as well as being patient. So you don't need to show them action every second. This is my reasoning for holding this shot for a few seconds longer after Nikki runs past with just the title on the wall. I was new to editing when I produced my preliminary task. I had little understanding of when to deploy transitions to enhance your film, hence why I chose to put across the dissolve from the close-up of the door to the medium shot. But I learned from my mistakes and in my opening sequence was able to successfully use them to great effect, such as edge wipe in my production card and the cross dissolve. The latter I learned could be employed to create a feeling of longevity to help slow the pace of the film down, matching that of the accompanying music. I have developed my understanding of audience and genres since the start of the year. My preliminary task wasn't of a particular genre or aimed at a specific group. My finished product contrasted. During the research stage, I gained an understanding of genres and the conventions of them, particularly the social realism genre. I thought about aspects of the film I previously hadn't, such as the sound. I researched music carefully, selecting my chosen soundtrack, Melancholia by William Basinski. My preliminary task does not begin with an establishing shot, leaving the audience clueless on where the following scene takes place. In contrast, I use an establishing shot in my opening sequence just before the mugging to inform the audience of where the following scene is taking place. I was confident enough to not include establishing shots when Nicky is out running and when he awakes, because the audience is informed through the mise-en-scène of the location, thus making its inclusion unnecessary. The main feature of importance of both productions was that for both I planned an original idea but didn't follow through with it, as I didn't overcome the obstacles but diverted around them, albeit I was forced by the train station for my finished production. For my preliminary task, the diversion was poor. Contrastingly, I believe my final product was very successful despite not being my original idea. In many ways, I believe that it is better than my original idea would have been when I visualise it, as it has employed more continuity techniques and is more interesting for the audience as it focuses on the genre more effectively.